Hello? I think we're good.
Do you have a? I don't think so. You want like a stand? It's in your mic stand.
Yes.
You're on speaker.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You're on mic too.
Thank you. Thank you.
We'll call this special meeting to order, and we'll say the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
And the flag of the Union
and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Amen.
All right. Thank you all for joining us tonight. We are it's a special meeting called to interview candidates for Zone 5. And we have 3 candidates. We have Don Reynolds, Becky Swain, and Derek Moore. Derek Moore. All right. What we will do is we'll proceed. We have questions to ask. Just a kind of an informal, formal interview. Just take time and answer them how you see fit. We will ask a question, and then you will all 3 have a chance to answer that. We will rotate. So first, Don will go, and then Becky, to answer first, and then Derek, so that you all get a chance to answer first and last. That way, kind of like anybody who starts first. So you all have a chance. So we have your letters of of interest, and I believe the board has had a chance to review them. I want to thank you for submitting them. And I apologize. I forgot we have to approve the agenda. Sorry about that. I'm making a motion to approve the agenda.
I move we approve the agenda.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, now back to this. So I would open it up to the board to ask questions. Actually, you know what? I take that. I need to ask an initial question. Do any of you have a relationship with the board that we should know about? There wouldn't preclude you, but any relationship that would that you're related to or know, have a relationship with a member of the board.
No.
Okay, very good. At this time, I open it up to the board to ask questions.
We're just going to start super basic. Why do you want to become a board member?
I want to become board member. Make sure it's green. Hit the power button once.
I wanted to become a board member because I've seen a lot of work that's being done, and I feel like I've voiced plenty of opinions and ideas, and want to put my person where my opinion is and be willing to help and suggest moving the school district forward.
I'm interested in being part of the solution. I feel like the board is in a position to do some community education, and education is very important to me, both within the school district and within our community. I'd like to be part of the solution and to help bring together people to work toward educating kids.
Well, so I've seen Middleton grow. I've lived here 24 years. I've seen Middleton grow. I was here when Middleton was very small, so I've been here right at 24 years, without kids and with kids. And of course, my family is very involved in school. My wife obviously is involved at the elementary level, the middle school level, and soon will be at the high school level as well. And frankly, with everything that's been going on, and we're in such a time right now where everything is expanding and growing so rapidly with all the new movement and all the new homes and all the new kids and all the new pressures that come along with that. Along with that comes problems, and there needs to be solutions. And I think that I could bring maybe a third party outside of the box, outside of the school level opinions, being a business owner, being involved with athletic programs, being involved with the educations and stuff like that as well.
It wasn't too long ago that I was where you were sitting, so I thank you, the three of you, for stepping up to often serve. Continuing down this line of questioning, what attributes are essential for successful school board members? Becky, we'll go ahead and start with you this time.
I'm going to take just a minute to think about that, if that's okay. The ability to remain calm in a heated situation. The ability to remain neutral and remember your purpose. Time and dedication. The willingness to do your best.
I myself think first thing, open-minded. We all, as board members, as students, as parents, and everything else, need to keep an open mind on what directions we are going. And quite frankly, think outside the box sometimes. Not everything is going to be one specific way. And not to have an agenda, but to find a solution to what the current problems are and what the future problems potentially could be, and work together.
I think open-minded is probably the first thing that comes to my mind as well. I think somebody who can see both sides and recognize and validate the opinions of all sides of the situation. Someone who's willing to make hard decisions, to think through and recognize that implications they move beyond the here and now and into the future, and whatever that may be. And then being able to work well together, I think, is an important aspect of being a board member.
Are you there? Sorry. I would just like to know what you feel is the most important responsibility as a school board member. What do you feel like is your most important responsibility?
So my question was the attributes you thought were essential. And then
The responsibility. That's the most important responsibility.
It comes and goes. I talk a lot, but some of it comes on, but I'm trying to make out as best I can.
You want to please ask.
Okay, thank you.
I would say as an individual is being able to work side by side with other board members, as well as the parents and everything else, and know that not one solution is always right. Not one person is always right. And being able to be diplomatic about how you want the points to get across and what points and those hard decisions need to be made, that you can do it in the right way and do it diplomatically within the group, as well as a group, you are representing to the parents as a group and not as an individual.
I think the number one responsibility of a board trustee would be to ensure that there is the right environment and atmosphere to provide a good quality education for our students. I think that is the number one responsibility.
Boards of trustees have essentially one job, and that is to govern. And so understanding the difference between governance and administration, to me, is really important.
What, if you could describe for me, what is your vision for education in the
My vision for education is a system that allows diversity of thought and learning for students, recognizing that we're not necessarily able to individualize every kid's learning plan, but the vision would be that every kid would be able to find an opportunity and an educational path that would meet their needs and future goals.
Could you describe for me your visual education?
I'm a lifelong learner. I think learning starts at birth and it ends when you die. So as far as education within the school system goes, I love the mission statement for this, every child learning every day. I think that's phenomenal. I have kids who live on both ends of the bell curve. I have kids that qualify for gifted and talented, and I have kids that qualify for IEPs. So those fringe kids are really important to me, but so are all of the mainstream children. And I love what my kids' elementary school has done with the differentiated education. So within the grade level, they group by ability. And that allows each child a more individualized educational experience while not requiring more of the educators, or not requiring too much more of the educators. And I love that and would love to see more of that. Outside of my duties as a school board trustee, if you chose me, I love continuing education. Anything I personally can do to support that, I will. I've taught classes for free very often because I believe so strongly that education is for everyone.
I agree with both of the folks sitting next to me, but I also think too, to add to that, we are on a cutting edge with the way our kids learn nowadays. I mean, a lot of it has to do with science and technology. Technology even above science. We have one of the most state-of-the-art school systems in the country with the high schools, and now it's following down to the elementary levels, at preschool levels and stuff like that. And that is stuff we need to continue. Schools are being built because of our school. They're seeing what our academics, our sciences, our technologies, and how we are advancing. And that's what they're learning from. And we need to continue to advance that, along with the dedicated learning at your own pace. It's kind of hard to do, but in some ways it can be done. Because not every kid is the most book smart kid. There are a lot of kids that are very street smart, have a lot of common sense, that don't learn well out of books. We need to focus on that as well, because there's some extremely smart and talented individuals that just because they can't learn correctly out of a book, there's got to be other ways to teach those kids.
We look at a lot of data. We have a lot of goals. We have a strategic plan. There's all sorts of things, different varieties of things out there for us to measure whether they're successful or whether they're working. So how would you determine when a program or a decision has been successful?
Oh, I love data. I love data. I live and die by data. I think you look at the cost-benefit analysis. How much did it cost for how much improvement? And you look at your long-term projections, but most importantly, you pay a lot of attention to the people who are executing that program. You pay attention to the people who are teaching it. You pay attention to the people who are collecting the data. And you spend a lot of time considering their opinions.
I'm a numbers guy, so numbers every day. So there's always an ROI, okay? Which is a lot like cost benefit analysis, but return on investment. But sometimes ROI can be fictitious. You got to look at success rates over and above the ROI. So especially when it comes to students. And because sometimes the ROI might not look right, but the success rate of what is happening and the advancement of what the students are getting out of it makes more sense than the bottom line ROI. So I would look at it, I would weigh more towards what's our success rate towards the students and how we're developing in the community and how we're moving forward with school programs and educational sides and everything like that, then I would. But you always got to look at numbers because we've got to be able to pay them. But at the same time, sometimes you've got to set aside the ROIs and look and see what's benefiting the students and how they are being affected by it.
I'm less of a numbers guy. I'm a lot more of a feelings kind of a guy. I like to talk to people. I like to see what's going on. I like to measure what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing, what I'm experiencing against what the vision of the intent of the program was. The vision being what future success looks like. So if we're marching in the right direction, if we're marching towards that future success, I think that's the key. Data sometimes can be skewed, so I think it is important to look at, but I think it's sometimes more important to look at the people, to talk to them. How's this really working? How's this really feeling? Are we getting it right? I think Becky had a great point, not just talking to the people who are in the program's for, but who's administering that program. How's it working for them too? I think that's an important part of that.
Describe the superintendent's role. Describe the superintendent's role.
First and foremost, an overseer in a lot of different areas. Now, frankly, I'm not involved at the school level that often, all the way up from the superintendents down to the principals and stuff like that on a daily basis. So I might be not so accurate as far as that goes, but I mean, in my perspective as a superintendent, that is an overseer. That is someone who guides, who is putting the right people in the right places and allowing those type of people to make the right decisions to get what needs to be done.
The superintendent's role for me is the day-to-day operations, overseeing exactly the boots on the ground kind of guy. He needs to be involved. He needs to be in the schools. He needs to be working, taking care of what's going on. Again, numbers are hard to read if you don't see what's really behind them. So I think you need to be out and about and involved in, but really managing the day-to-day affairs of the schools and the school districts from a higher level, not in the way of principals, administration, teachers, but being aware of what they're doing so we can give guidance and correction as needed. So oversee.
I agree. The superintendent administers the district. And then also another really big part of that for me is community liaison. He should be the one, or he or she, superintendent should be the person who interfaces with community members and also serves as an advisor and support.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, what is as you've been involved just in the community and around schools, and I'm sure most of the three of you have, what's something that you would like to see implemented into the school system in the next 5 years? And what's something that you'd like to bring to the table as a board member to implement into our, whether it's a curriculum, program? Is there something that drives you that you want to see where our school's at, where it's going, the growth? What's something that you'd like to?
I think for me, the thing that I'd like to see happen is a positive image put forth so that when people say that they teach or they work or they go to school at Middleton. There's been enough goodwill that's been done in the community that people have a good positive experience with that. That they have an education for the students that backs that up. I think we're doing well in that way. I think our biggest issue and our biggest image right now, our biggest problem in this school district really is the public relations issue. So I'd like to improve that. I'd like to work with the community and continue to promote all the good things that are going on here at our Middleton school districts. Middleton Heights has their teachers dance and sing and have a party when kids show up for school. I saw in the news that North Star Elementary did that the last day of school. They were put on the news and celebrated for doing that. So I think if we can promote more of the good things going on, just letting people know of the good that's happening here in Middleton, I think it'll drown out some of the other issues that we've had. But I think generally speaking, this school district's headed in a pretty good direction if we can overcome the public relations concerns.
Marianne?
Yes.
Repeat the question again.
What is something that you've been involved in schools or been around and within the community that you obviously live in? I'm just wondering what kind of long-range plans that you would like to see implemented into our schools, whether like you talked about public relations with programs. Is there something that you'd like to bring within like a five-year range goal? What's something that you'd like to bring to the board, and to the community, and to the school district that you would feel like would be successful here in Middleton?
Gotcha. I'm not sure that as a board member, it would be my place to drive something like that, but as a community member, I'm really interested in two things. And one is creating service opportunities for kids at both the middle school and the high school. I've looked at what Caldwell has done with Just Serve, and they created a lot of community unity that started at their high school with service projects. And I thought that was phenomenal. I love the idea of that. And it's a way, I don't think you can go wrong with service. You can't get the wrong idea from providing service, right? So that's one thing. And the other thing that I'm really passionate about is music education. Because for me, music is what makes people human. It's a common language that can be shared across geographical boundaries and linguistic backgrounds. Everyone is born musical, and then there's all kinds of research that's been done that shows that understanding music and participating in it drives things like literacy rates and understanding of math. And how music impacts education, how it creates a more complete human is very intriguing to me. I love the idea of that, and I love the research behind it, and I'd like to see more of it.
One thing in what we have in the growing community and everything else that I believe is extremely important is managing the growth of our schools is very important, both community-wise, school-wise, and what have you, because obviously we're overcrowded. Everybody knows it. Trying to find creative ways, whether it's community-wise, school-wise, administrative-wise, to handle the growth that we have. It's not going away. The second thing too is, I truly believe we need to hire the right type of teachers that are creative, that are community-oriented, and we need to keep good teachers. And that, along with that, goes with increased salaries, everything else that goes along with that. And having everybody involved, there's ways to do it. And I think we're on our way and we're doing some good things. Are there some hiccups? Absolutely. But I think managing the growth that we have and keeping the good people that we have and bringing in the right kind of people is going to be key, one of the key things.
My question, against what matrix will you assess district leadership's aim and key goals? How will you know a program for decision has been successful?
one more time?
I guess what matrix will you assess district leadership attainment key goals?
Okay. To me, like a rubric. I am stymied by the word matrix.
So, say a school leadership puts in a policy, this last year we did the early out.
Yeah.
The early out. How would you determine if that was successful?
Okay. Well, in the instance of the early out, or as we call it at our house, the extra early out, I would look at the data. I love that they sent out a survey and asked the parents what they thought, because the parents as stakeholders, that's a big deal to me that they're happy. I would also ask the teachers what they thought in the same way. I would look to see if there's any indication that impacted the quality of education the students were receiving. And I would give a weight to each of those items and then put it in a formula and do the math.
I agree to a certain extent, absolutely. I think the parents is the first place you start, because the early out is what affects the parents the most, right off the get-go. I think the students too. We gotta ask the students, what are the kids doing on the early out? And it goes back to the impact education, but is it a positive that they're getting a break, that this is a good thing, lets them free their minds, lets them get out and play, do whatever they want to do. And I think that, and as well as the administrative teachers, okay? And you take all three of those and you put them, yeah, I don't think you can put something like that down in math and numbers. It's the positive, it could be just as much as positive attitudes by all three sources, and it's successful. If you say it's a positive attitude from the teachers or a positive outcome for the teachers, but it's not so much for the parents, and maybe equally to the students, well, then you've got to look at different things. What are those outcomes? Is it affecting their grades? Is it not? Is it a positive? So for me, it's a little hard to say an exact scenario, because I've never obviously was part of the early out or anything like that to be able to give a number, or was it successful or was it not? But if I would look at those three.
I think before any policy gets put in place, we need to have an understanding of why do we need policy in the first place? What are we trying to accomplish? Are we trying to, in the case of early out, are we trying to provide opportunity for learning for our teachers? Are we trying to provide opportunity for time for them to do grading, whatever that happens to be? And then what are the potential downfalls? Are we looking at issues with parents and who else is getting involved? And I think you need to evaluate that up front. So you can say, here's a policy we're looking at. We're hoping to achieve this set goal or this set intent, whether that's because we're overcoming a challenge or because we're just providing a more convenient experience, or we're providing a better, happier education experience for our kids, whatever that happens to be, and then evaluate at the end of that and say, did we meet that goal? Did we meet that intent? Are there any sideline issues that have come up because of that? Something like an early out. Do we have issues with parents that's created undue hardships for? And is it worth the additional benefits? And I think you have to evaluate that at the end. But I think the important part of that is, why are we putting the policy in place in the first place, and have that clearly stated so that there is a chance at the end to say, we did this for this reason, and is it meeting that intended purpose?
The last question I want to ask is just, so normally a school board meets once a month. We're not normal. Do any of you have any concerns, or are you going to be able to fulfill the additional time requirements that may come up with hiring we have to do, or long-term, when we're talking about bonds and running those, that'll require extra meetings. I just kind of want to feel for, do you have the support at home and the time that you're going to need to invest to help us go forward as a team?
I have no problem. My business is local. We work hard and we play hard. My wife's totally involved in the school system and stuff like that. And so, well, I definitely don't have any issues.
Timing's a difficult one for me. I've got other obligations outside of this, and that's my number one concern in being on the school board was the amount of availability, the amount of time that would be necessary. I recognize that that's an issue, and can be. So I'd be upfront and honest about that if I had said that I've got all the time in the world. But that being said, I'd make time where I need to make time, and I've learned to manage and shuffle and shift and miss things, and I get some things, and I go where I think the priorities are, and try and keep the plates all spinning. So.
I also own a business in town, but in anticipation of this, I did cut my schedule for next year. As long as it's not a time when I'm actively teaching, I can make it work.
This is kind of a two-part question. Do board members or the board have a role in the day-to-day operations of the district? Can you support a board decision that you're not in favor of?
Yeah, I think this is a great question, and I think it's definitely one that I've seen that the board struggle with. I don't think the board should be involved in day-to-day operations. That being said, reading through some of the policies and procedures, the board members are encouraged to attend activities, events, and things going on in the schools so that they can see what's going on and understand the grassroots where the rubber hits the road kind of scenario. So I think it's important that you're involved. I think it's important that you're there. It's important you see, that you take in information, that you have conversations. And then I think that then information needs to be shuffled back through the appropriate channels, through the superintendent, down through the administration and teachers or whoever's involved in that activity, and following up, making sure, again, that the vision of the school board is being met and intended, the activity, goals, and intentions are being met. The other part of that is, can you support a decision that I don't vote for? Yeah, I think I can. I think that's a hard position to be in. I think it's a tough position to feel passionate about something, to be voted, to be in the minority on the school board. But I think it's super important that as a school board, you're able to come together and present a united front. I don't think that means you need to bring out the pom-poms and rah-rah cheer for it, but I do think you need to recognize that the board has voted. I'm one person. My opinion is not going to be the best or the all-knowing opinion. I would trust that there's 4 other people on this board that are equally talented and educated and smart and making these decisions too. And together, I think we can make the best decisions. So I think it's important to support the board decisions, even when you're in the minority.
To answer your first question, no, I don't believe that board members should be involved in the day-to-day operations of the district. I am really excited to hear about what's happening at every school and support and attend where I can. I think that's the thing that excites me about being a trustee. I expect that when the board is discussing issues, the conversation will occasionally get lively. And I think that as long as everyone is honest, that's a really helpful thing. But once the vote is taken, I have no problem falling in line and being 100% in support.
I agree as well. I don't think that board members should be on a day-to-day basis. Sometimes too many chiefs and not enough Indians doesn't work well. And alongside of that, but I do agree with him in being there, seeing what's going on and stuff like that, and participating. As far as, making tough decisions and what have you, and I've been in a lot of businesses over a lot of years and have to make a lot of tough decisions, and some of them I don't agree with. But if it makes sense, even though it might not be what I agree, if the board agrees and it makes sense, then absolutely, because no one's going to have the right answer all the time. So, and I don't think the board is always going to agree 100% of the time. It just won't happen. But if it makes sense, that's what the most important thing is. It's the decisions that we make as trustees. Do they make sense? Whether it's your popularity or what you want to see happen going forward.
I know Lisa asked earlier why do you want to be a board member? And I just wanted to add to that. What do you think is the number one thing that you feel like to have a successful board, to be on a successful board? What do you feel like you could bring to the table to make this board even more successful? And what do you feel like it could be?
So what do I think I can bring in order to make the board even more successful? Is that the question? Okay. In my letter, I mentioned that I have been on the other side. I worked in hospital administration and presented to a board monthly. So I understand that division between governance and administration. And I understand how sensitive information needs to be handled. And I don't have a problem keeping a secret and holding that line for things that are confidential. Not secret, confidential. I don't have any problems with that. Also, I'm a teacher, and so I feel deeply in my heart for students. And I know how important that relationship is between students and teachers. And I am very devoted to maintaining that relationship between the kids and the teachers in this district. I feel like my medic background taught me how to keep a cool head in the crisis. But even more importantly than that, I was trained to find the most qualified person in the room to take charge. And like my friend over here said, Derek said, be a good Indian. So that's my info.
So I'm not involved in school academics, nor do I have a teaching background or anything like that. What I feel I can bring to the table is objectivity, open-mindedness, and more of an outside-the-box way of thinking, which is sometimes good. I mean, from the outside looking in, rather than being involved. As far as the support, to me, it's all about the kids, regardless. Of course, I have 2 kids that are in school and everything else, and I see how they're growing up, but I'm also a very, very big fan of making sure that our kids have a future. And whatever we have to do to make that happen. And sometimes it's got to be creative. We've got to be objective. We've got to be level-headed. We've got to also think outside the box. I believe that us as administrators, parents, teachers, we've got to think outside the box to keep these kids, one, learning and wanting to learn, and giving them a future that they can use. So that's what I think I heard.
I think I bring to the table a lot of questions. I don't pick things up always real super fast. I ask a lot of questions. I try and see things from different points of view. I recognize that what somebody's telling me is their opinion and their perspective. And I think being able to see both sides, being able to be calm and rational in understanding and communicating back those things to try and help others understand and see points of view. I think that's probably some of my strong points. I get that a lot, and I feel like I get a lot of input that way. I get a lot of people asking and sharing information with me because I am willing to listen and try and understand, because I ask a lot of questions, recognizing I don't have all the answers.
The school operates with the teachers association of the district, and we, as a board, negotiate contract with them and work with them to help promote things in the school. What do you think is the ideal relationship between the teachers association and the school board?
I think objectivity, what comes to mind with me. So you have to have a balance between, obviously, the Teachers Association, the Board of Trustees, and it's got to be an effective balance for the better of everybody, which is our kids. And the approvals come with that. Those are some of the hardest decisions that you folks make, is these contracts, the approvals that you do for expanded needs, such as activities and what have you. And to be able to, you've got to work with each other. And you've really got to have a really good equal ground and good understanding that we're trying to move things forward, whether it's students, whether it's administration, whether it's association, that we do the right things for the kids.
This is one of those tough relationships that I think the school board gets to deal with. In my work, I deal with various vendors, and part of that is dealing with building a relationship so that you have a relationship of trust where you can trust that what they're saying they're going to do, they're going to get done. So if you need a favor done, that they're willing to help out because you've got a good relationship. But on the flip side of that, when bids come in, when there's a project that's being done, knowing that you're not going to get highballed on a project. So being able to have a balance between maintaining a good relationship, because I think that is important, and being able to work together, but then also being able to hold each other accountable, because as a school board, you're responsible for the monies of the school, and teachers are a big chunk of that, but they're not the only chunk. And you need to make sure that those budgets are balanced appropriately, that we're given adequate and fair pay as best possible to provide for teachers so that they're willing and interested in coming here. Again, I think that goes back to environment more than anything. We have a good environment. I think that'll help in that regards. But I think that the teacher association and the school board relationship is one that has to be balanced and watched carefully.
I think honesty, cooperation, and trust are the three pillars of that. I would hope that because everyone has the same goal, which is to educate kids, that it wouldn't be too hard to find a way to come together and negotiate to make that happen. That may be a really naive position. I may find out differently, but I would I would hope that if the board can be honest with the MEA, that the Teachers Association would be equally honest with us in return, and that we could work together in openness to come to a consensus.
I probably have one last question. So, asking the taxpayers to pass a bond is probably one of the toughest things we'll have to do, is have them commit to our mission and goal. Do you think that's something you could do? And what do you bring to the table to help, if you chose to help pass a bond?
This is a great question too, because I think it's another one of those tricky situations where you're trying to balance relationship with the needs of the school and the school district. I think the most important thing there is to be able to communicate I think we have a really rational community. I think we have a lot of really good people who sit back and watch and observe and gather a lot of information. I think the key there is being able to share with the community that the school district is doing their due diligence in being able to find the best deals and the best possible options. And then explaining and helping them understand what a school bond is, how that really impacts them bottom dollar, what that's going to do, not just for their home and household budget, but what that's going to do for their kids and the community moving forward. But I think that the biggest part of there is helping the community know that the school district really has done their due diligence and kicked all the tires and turned over all the rocks and looked in all the back alleys to try and find the best options possible to move this forward, and meeting the needs, the vision of the school district, while also being wise in managing the funds of the tax board members. But the other part of that was, do I have a problem asking for money? Yes, I do. I have a hard time making a phone call and saying, will you pay me? Will you do this? Do I have a problem presenting and helping people understand? No. So that may sound like a political answer, but that's really the truth. If I get in front of people, I can talk to them all day. I can help them understand, I can explain it to them. If I'm going to be asked to pick up the phone, that's going to be a hard thing for me to do. It's part of my responsibility to do it.
Yeah, I think asking money from the public is one of the hardest things we have to do as a school district. Is that something you can get behind, or how would you support that, or what's your feelings on a bond?
Yeah, at this point, I think it's really painfully obvious that we need more facilities in this district. And looking at the growth studies that have been presented recently, I'm just astounded that it hasn't happened yet, frankly. I think a big part of that is trust, and we need to work a little harder to build some trust between the district and the community. Again, that's, I think, a big part of the superintendent's job. Communication with community is just way high on my list of things the superintendent needs to be doing. I don't have a problem asking for money when it comes to kids, and I would absolutely get behind that. I have participated in the past couple bond promotions, and it's a tough sell right now. There are a few barriers. One is communication, one is trust, one is people just, the taxes in this county are really high. So.
I believe if you educate properly, you don't have to ask. Now, that's easier said than done. Okay? So on that, I agree with both of them. Very, very valid points. It's all about educating, due diligence. Obviously, you got to crunch numbers. You want to get your biggest bang for your buck, but getting the biggest bang for your buck also has to be presented in the right ways to the community, because they're the ones that are footing the bill. And it's all in how you do it. And obviously, I mean, it's very, very hard to do because we've got bonds that haven't passed. Every school has had bonds that haven't passed. So it's about, I think there's got to be some creative ways that we can help educate so it sells itself. So when a bond does come up, that yes, it costs money, but this is what our kids are getting for this money. This is where the new schools are coming from. This is where our educations are going. And I don't believe in certain scenarios, I'm not saying ours or anybody else's, that maybe it goes by the wayside of getting right down to the root of, this is where this money is going. This is what we've done to get here, and this is how it's going to move forward. So I think education and support. And you don't have to ask for it.
I I'm okay, thank you, Tim.
One last question I have is, in the role of board trustees, you always have people coming up and saying, I'm unhappy with this, I'm unhappy with that, what can you do for me on this? I would ask you, not being on the board and of course not having the training and stuff, but I go back to the role as a board member, but how would you handle a patron that comes up and says, hey, this coach won't play my kid, or this coach is doing this, or this teacher is doing this? How do you handle that in a respectful way? And what would be your role as a board member? In your opinion?
Can I ask a question in response? Okay. What is a board member legally allowed to do in that situation? Because that would be what I would do. If I'm allowed to be empathetic, I would say, I would like to know more about that. Can you, what? Sorry, we've had a lot of conversations. I would like to be really empathetic and find out, what can you tell me, tell me more about that situation, explain to me how that came to be, and what have you tried, and have you talked to the coach? Okay, all right, well, and that didn't work. What did you try next? Have you tried doing this? No, I haven't tried talking to the principal. Okay, that would be my suggestion. And would you let me know how that worked out?
So, obviously, I don't know, like you were saying, we don't know what the rules are and stuff like that. For sure, I would hear about it. First and foremost, find out the details. And knowing what we can and can't do, if you're on the board, you know that. And obviously, you take it back to the board for advice and stuff like that. But being able to hear them out and find out the details from their perspective. Obviously, their perspective may be different than someone else's perspective, but you've got to hear everybody. You've got to hear both sides of the story, or all the story. And try to be as detailed as possible to get the most information you can, so you can bring it back to the board or the appropriate people you need to do in whatever fashion that is.
I think the most important thing is to listen to people, hear them out, you show empathy. But I think the thing is, the role of a board member is that you're probably more educated in the process than somebody else is. They probably or may not be willing to talk to a coach, or maybe they've talked to them like they heard, or they don't feel comfortable going to the principal or the teacher. So I think that the most important thing as a board member is to educate. It's to help them understand what are their resources, what are their avenues of recourse. I think that's most important, is to help them understand it. The second thing is there's a buzzword going around about extreme ownership. It's owning the problem. They come to you as a board trustee, trusting you with this issue, with this concern. You should follow up with it and make sure it's being addressed, whether that's with the person individually or maybe circling back around with the coach or with the principal, asking, have you had any conversations with parents or with people about it? I think it's important. And part of that is getting permission from the parent to have that conversation. Letting them know you'd like to make sure that this concern is resolved. If you have one parent who's a concern, it's probably more than that sitting in the wings with a similar concern. And if not, you learn who those squeaky wheels are quickly, and you do your best to address concerns for the good of the whole. So I think listening, understanding, point them to the resources, and then owning the problem and being able to circle back and provide some follow-up one way or the other.
Unless there's any other questions for the board, I would give you guys a couple minutes each to summarize and give us a final pitch for, unless you don't want to, you don't have to, but if you want to take a minute to address anything, please feel free to.
Before you do that, I do want to say the quality of the three of you is first class. I would have no problem serving with any of you on board. So it's very competitive. Thank you for stepping up in times like this. You're prepared, you're thoughtful, you're talking from the heart. Really appreciate you putting yourself on the line like that. So I would serve with any of you. Thank you for coming prepared.
And thank you guys too for hearing us out as far as that goes. Because, I mean, obviously, this is a position that needs to be filled, and you want to do it the correct way. And thank you guys for taking the time to listen as well. You know, for me, like I said, I've lived here a long, long time, and there's a lot of people that have lived here longer than I have. But I've seen the growth. I've seen some of the really cool ups and downs. I mean, the ups, especially with our education, with what our schools are doing, and the state of the art, and where our athletic programs are going. Even though athletics is not the cream of the crop, but quite honestly, that's where a lot of money comes from. A lot of our money comes from athletics, and allowing the athletics as well as the education and everything. I mean, we have a lot of really talented kids, both educationally, athletically, and we are a growing program. Where I think that I can bring to the table as a summary is, one, I'm not involved with the school on a daily basis. This is bringing me to the point where I am getting involved. But I bring a lot to the table, I feel, when it comes to the creativeness, the open-mindedness, the numbers, as well as I'm a people person. I don't sit behind a desk. I'm a ground pounder. I'm everywhere. I mean, you guys, I mean, lots of people see me. I'm at all the games. I'm in, you know, at most of the activities and stuff, as well as my family's involved in this school. I'm just not on a daily basis, but I'd like to be more involved. And I think coming from the outside a little bit, like I spoke before, having an outsider's perspective, maybe coming into the board with some different ideas and stuff like that might be helpful.
I'm a relative newcomer actually to this town. We don't have any family here. But if I tried to move my kids again, they would probably murder me in my sleep. So this is where we're going to stay. My youngest is 4, so we have several more years dealing with the Middleton School District, and I am really interested in doing whatever I can to make this the best place it can be for every kid. I don't think you can go wrong here. I really don't. I have been super impressed with both of these guys, and I would be very happy to support them if you decided to choose them. And if you chose me, I would do my absolute best to be open-minded and honest. There's not an artful bone in my body. What you see is what you get. Say what I mean. And if you think that I was mean when I said it, that's not the way it was intended. So I don't know how to hide what I actually think. Does that make sense? And that is frequently an asset, and occasionally it's to my detriment. But I am really, really, really interested in seeing the Middleton School District soar. I think that the bones are there, the possibilities are there. We have the teachers to do it. Just get the community behind us, and there's no stopping us.
This has been a great experience. I appreciate the opportunity. I also would pay my respects to the board. I think you've made a lot of really hard decisions lately. I think you've done that with a lot of pressure, and I haven't always agreed with those decisions, but I don't have all the information you have, and so I respect your decisions. I think that's important to know. So I would like to just say thank you for your work. Thank you for your time. Your families for the effort and energy that you put into this. For me, is closing arguments. I got involved in this when I heard of Ben Merrill's situation. It's kind of the elephant in the room in a lot of ways. I think what Ben has brought to this school district is a lot of really good things. I like the idea of the crew being more than just the students, more than just the teachers and administration, more than just the parents, more than just, but it's a whole community. I think that's an important thing that we need to promote one way or the other moving forward, that this school district is about the community. I moved here from Driggs, Idaho, clear across the state, and I came here to Middleton because I had multiple people tell me you should move to Middleton when I was looking at a job in Emmett. And they told me specifically go to Heights Elementary. That's, I don't know how many miles away, but I heard that because people love what's going on here and love what's happened. I don't know if I'm going to hear those same kind of accolades today, even though I think a lot of those same good things are still happening here. So for me, I think that's an important thing to do. So whether I'm on the board or not, so I've got plenty to do, and I'll continue to come to board meetings from time to time, especially when I see items of note that are of importance to me, or that I feel like you could use some input on, or would like to have some outside opinion for, because I think that's important one way or the other for a board to be able to hear what's going on and what the opinions. So I would love to be a part of the board. I'd love to be a part and contribute as best I can. But thank you for the opportunity.
Now, as a board, it's open time to discuss. If you have anything you'd like to say in regards to our upcoming vote regarding the three candidates for us.
Could you just clarify the term limits for me? When this term?
So this position is taking out, assuming Erica St. Michelle, who resigned, and her term is up this year. So this position would essentially have to run again in November, or run prior to and be elected in November again if you wanted to serve again. So we're filling the term to the end of the year. Is basically what we're doing now, and if you so chose, you could run again in the November election. So. Any discussion? Okay. All right, at this time, we have a ballot before us, and we will mark the candidates as 1, 2, and 3. And then we sign your name, and we'll pass them to Becky. And Mary Ann?
Yes.
If you would mark or send it as text to Becky, three, marking the first as your first choice, number 1 is your first choice, and 2.
Okay, I have to disconnect to be able to send any kind of text. So could you call me back in less than 2 minutes? Okay, thank you. Bye.
I would concur with Kirk that both of you guys did an outstanding job, and it was a tough choice. I think you have no no reason to hang your head. You guys all did a great job. So, yeah. No. Thank you very much, Garrett. Next week is our regular board meeting, and you will be sworn in at our regular board meeting at 6 o'clock. And so, welcome. Thank you. Thank you. All right. At this time, we do need to hold an executive session to discuss some personnel issues. And so at this time, I would entertain a motion to enter executive session.
Per Idaho Code 74-206, in accordance with the Idaho Code, the school board will now hold an executive session to consider hiring a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual agent wherein the respective qualities of an individual are to be evaluated in order to fill a particular vacancy or need. This paragraph does not apply to filling a vacancy in an elective office or deliberations about staffing needs in general, and to consider the evaluation, dismissal, or disciplining of, or to hear complaints or charges brought against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual agent.
I second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, and we'll go in by roll call vote. Yes?
Yes.
We are now in executive session, and we will utilize the conference room across the way, and we will be back shortly. Thank you.
Changed your color to white. Does that make sense? So anything yellow is your outage. So when you're looking at that, it's yellow. That's why your outage are red.
Yeah, I just.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.